Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to a very promising 2023. This is a Trade Finance Distribution Initiative podcast, the business hub for standard setting institutions unlocking the future of a liquid trade finance. My name is Doris Kuninovich. Lovely to have you here with us this new year after the holidays. We're back and in full swing. Now, my guest today is from a digital global service provider for corporates, financial institutions, and fintechs. Now, you may have heard about them in the news a few months back when they announced a successful pilot of an automated ESG scoring and tracking system within their flagship trade finance solution, RIVO. I'm talking about Surecomp. Enno Weitzel is a Senior Vice President, Strategy and Business Development at Surecomp. Enno, Happy New Year and lovely to have you here with us.
Happy New Year to you, Doris, and thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. I do hope you had a good and restful holiday with your family.
Yes, absolutely. It was lovely to take a break and much needed after a busy year 2022.
Indeed, indeed, and what a year was it? I mean, so let's kick off talking about a bit of Surecomp, but first of all, about you and your experience in the banking industry. Am I correct to say that you do have some banking experience?
Well, I guess that's fair to say. I'm with Surecomp now for 2 years, and before that, I was 8 years with Commerzbank. Took several positions over there, and in my last role and responsibility, I was overseeing the global trade finance business from Commerzbank. Now, Commerzbank is a very large trade finance bank, and thus I had the opportunity to see the trade finance business from various regions, various times, right? We went through crisis as 2008, and then the crisis going on. And so it was super interesting to have that responsibility and to learn a lot and, as always, right, contribute a lot too.
And then you moved on to Surecomp. Can you tell us a little bit about Surecomp and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Surecomp is a specialist provider of trade finance software. Now we're serving banks like Commerzbank, but many others too, around 250 banks on a global scale. And we also serve corporates with trade finance solutions. So on the corporate side, that is rather on the multinational corporate space. So very large corporates with sophisticated requirements and typically operations spanning the globe. On the banking side, we serve financial institutions of all sizes, large global institutions, as well as mid-sized, down to rather regional or local banks, because they all do trade finance business, which is good for global trade. And my role at Surecomp is I'm responsible for business strategy. So basically all centering around the question of how can we, Surecomp, stay relevant for our customers in tomorrow in that changing world that we're living in.
And what kind of clients are you interested in working with?
That's a very good question. So I described briefly the type of clients that we're currently working with. So on the banking side, large, mid and small banks. Also on the corporate side, we are working with the MNCs. We're interested to expand that service that we can bring to financial institutions. On the FI side, we in 2022 have started to serve insurance companies. And in 2022 also on the corporate side, we've started to serve smaller, well, it's not exactly small corporates, but say more mid-sized corporates that do have professional trade finance business and requirements and want to automate and reap efficiencies here. And that's where we have an interest in expanding the type and size of customers that we're working with.
And what sort of technology do you focus on using, and in terms of technology trends and applying it into the business? Can you give us a bit of an insight around that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, right? We are a fintech, so a tech provider for financial institutions and financial services. However, and that was one of the key learnings I had when joining from a bank to a fintech, it's not around technology. It's all around business solutions. So the prime focus, and I try to have that top of mind when talking to our internal teams as well, is we should deliver business solutions, i.e. real solutions to real business problems out there. Once we can solve them, That's the time we should think about what is the best technology per business problem. And now, of course, we will talk technology. That may differ. There are business problems where, say, traditional technical solutions are just fit for purpose. And there are business problems out there where rather sophisticated, say, DLT solutions are the technology of choice. However, having said that, and it's super important to stress that, technology always goes second after identifying the business problem and scoping together with our customers the solution, and then deciding upon a technology. Now, staying with technology a little bit, as I mentioned, we're in this industry for decades. So a good share of our solutions is built on, say, proven tracks, I should say, right? Installed on-prem with our client base. We have worked with our customers to move their technology to cloud solutions. And our latest product in our portfolio, RIVO, is completely built microservice and API based. This is SaaS native. So on that platform, we are now able to integrate to various other types of fintechs and technologies, and to integrate these technologies into the, say, solution flows for our customers. Hence, trying to summarize that tech question, and get me started a little bit. Yes, I am working with a fintech now. We are applying the technologies that solve the business problem. That may be in short.
That's a really interesting place to be because you've really pointed out that first you're looking at solving a problem, and how you solve that problem kind of originates the process, or what you've designed to solve the problem with. And you mentioned Revo. Can you tell me a little bit about your product Revo and why it was created?
Yes, more than happy to do so. So as I mentioned, we always work with our customers to find the right solution for a problem. And one of the feedback that we got from our customers is that the type of solutions that they're using today is no longer good enough to solve the problems of tomorrow. So to be specific, what is that? An on-prem solution is, say, inferior when it comes to the operating cost as compared to a solution that is installed on-prem. So we are very closely following our customers' needs and always deciding on what's the best solution for tomorrow. Now, you can always change your existing solution to a certain extent, but as with many, say, changes in the industry, sometimes there's a tipping moment where you think, okay, now we need to do something new. And that moment came, say, 3-4 years ago, when we decided to rebuild our solution portfolio into a new technical, say, platform. And that platform is RIVO. We've launched it last year in 2022, and RIVO basically combines all participants of a trade finance transaction. It provides services and value to the corporates using RIVO as a trade finance management platform, to the financial institutions being able to connect to their corporates, to other fintechs, and further participants in the industry like the fintechs, because with collaborating with the fintechs, we can enrich the user experience that corporates and financial institutions have on RIVO with their trade finance transactions. Just maybe to give you an example, in your intro, you mentioned the ESG scoring. ESG is all over the place. And every one of us wants to know, where am I? What's my footprint? What's my impact that I have with the business I'm doing? Now, with RIVO, we have connected ESG scoring institutions, rating agencies, and we can provide data from the transactions according to the ICC framework, hand it over to the rating agencies, and receive the rating back. And with that, without the corporates and the banks having additional manual effort to do so, we can feed them with an ESG scoring per transaction. And that's the type of added value, new feature that we have in mind when saying we can enrich the transaction, right? So trying to summarize, RIVO is the next generation trade finance management platform. It connects the parties in the trade finance transaction, and it provides the technical basis to enrich the user experience when it comes to using trade finance transactions.
And I really like to hear about this ecosystem, that you've, built with all the parties and the solutions that you've provided around here. Let's do a little bit of a case study because you've worked a little bit with Investec, who are global and also focused on the emerging market, which is quite fascinating for trade finance distribution for us in particular. Can you give us an idea of the kind of work that you've done with them?
Yes, more than happy to do so. So Investec is as you said, very, very interesting financial institution, headquartered in South Africa, and a footprint not only in the region, but as you said, reaching really the globe. So what did we do with them? They were looking to automate their complete trade finance operations. And they really took the broad view to say, let's start that optimization journey with the interaction with the corporate. So the transaction starts with when the corporate applies for a new transaction, all the way through our own back office and out again to the other parties. And basically, with that in mind, they chose us as a solution provider with two of our flagship solutions. One being DOCA, which is the back office solution enabling the bank to process the trade finance instrument, say issuing the letter of credit, managing the risk, doing all the communication, the charges, etc., on an automated basis. And choosing RIVO as the platform to communicate with their corporates and enable their corporates to communicate with the other parties in the trade finance transaction. Now, Investec being, say, open to new technology and new processes, chose both solutions in a SaaS delivery mode. So they don't implement any of the technology on-prem. They use both solutions out of the box, and that enabled us jointly, Investec and us, to bring them to production in less than 12 weeks' time. And that is outstanding in the market. I mean, you know the market also very well. So enabling a bank to, after signature of the contract, be operational within 12 weeks with a back office solution. We're pretty proud on that one, and we think it's outstanding in the market. Now, that clearly says that we will, and we do, continuously enhance the value that our customers get from choosing our solutions, not only because we have been there for the last 35 years, but because we're focused on improving the solutions for tomorrow. So that, in very short, is what we did with Investec. And again, stressing, it's not us alone, it's a team effort, right? They had a fantastic team on their side, also pushing for that and making it happen. And that's what we really feel, that working with our customers gets both of us, them and us, to a new level of getting value from the solutions.
That's a really good to hear, and an excellent case study in terms of success with listening to your client and really investing in their needs. Well, if you're listening, this is a Trade Finance Distribution Initiative podcast. I've got with me the Senior Vice President of Strategy Business Development at Surecomp, Enno Weitzel. Now, Surecomp has been a member of the Trade Finance Distribution Initiative for a while now, a few months, longer than a few months
Yeah.
going. Tell us about how you see the synergy or the synergies with the Trade Finance Distribution Initiative.
Yes, that's, for us, was one of the strategic moves that we did, not because we expect short-term returns, but because we are convinced that this, on the long run, is the right thing to do. Now, having said that, I don't wait for long-run effects. We start work immediately. So just to give you an example of also how we connect to fintechs that are in that space, take Inigio, right, who are also members of the initiative and provide, say, digital paper. That's what I really loved about their solution. We have fully integrated the Inigio solution into our RIVO platform. Now, what's the benefit of that? All users of RIVO can seamlessly make use of the Inigio's Trace Original. And that's basically a paper equivalent in the digital space, enabling to issue almost any type of content within that, say, digital envelope or digital way of paper. Now, that again is a technical solution, right? Now let's turn it to a business problem. You can issue digitally whatever you needed to issue yesterday on paper. Take a guarantee. Yes, we can enable anyone, any financial institution, to issue a digital guarantee with the distributed trace original solution. We can also enable anyone to issue a digital letter of credit and then take that digital item and change the ownership. And that's to the heart of the Trade Finance Distribution Initiative, because with that, big words have been used for that, right? Democratizing the access, closing the trade finance gap. And yes, I'm convinced that we can work on these high value goals. Now we can really work on that because we make it easier and more accessible. We reduce the transaction cost to do so. Earlier, I said that we want to open our platform also for insurance companies. Last year, we've started that. This is a focus of this year too, because insurance companies are just one other type of financial institutions that are active in the trade finance space and that use money from their investors and customers to invest in assets, not only in the primary, when issuing guarantees, for example, but also many of them active in the secondary market. Now, secondary market meaning buying trade finance assets that have been originated already. And with the pieces that we have on RIVO, so the platform in principle where all parties of a transaction can manage the transaction, the Inigio's engine to issue trace original documents, and the access of insurance companies or funds, where we're also open to, we basically can support the origination process as well as the distribution process. And that's why the Trade Finance Distribution Initiative is so core to what we think is necessary to, again, foster international trade, bring down the transaction cost, and make trade finance more accessible to more parties in more regions and further, say, size classes. We were talking about the large corporates that we are already serving and the mid-sized and small corporates that we're open to serve tomorrow. Because, again, it, to us, closes the circle of, yes, it needs technical solutions to enable that. It needs the willingness of the parties to actually go there. And it needs the availability of the service for these companies to actually enable them to trade where today the trade finance gap effectively is hindering trade.
And that's a huge focus for the TFDI, obviously, having these core members who and growing these core members who, are able to work together to actually attack this trade finance gap, and keep strengthening the conversations around how digital solutions can provide a more effective way of doing business. I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question now. And this one is on along the lines of what we're talking about on development. What do you think for this year, 2023? What do you think if there was one major development in digital trade expected this year? Which one would you highlight?
But that's a very good question, Doris. And to me, clearly, it would be collaboration. Collaboration not only among corporates and financial institutions where it's straightforward, right? It's not only collaboration between fintechs and fintechs and financial institutions, but collaboration between potential competitors. I'll give you an example. I come from the banking industry. So in a correspondent bank, in a bank that's active in the trade finance space, you compete with your fellow bank on doing business for the corporates. You want to have the bigger share of the pie when the corporate is allocating their business to the banks. So you do compete with the bank, sometimes fiercely. Yet, on the other hand, you collaborate with the very same bank, because any letter of credit needs two banks to make it work, at least, sometimes three or even more. So correspondent bankers know the concept of collaborating and yet competing at the same time. Having been there, that's the concept that I try to bring to the fintech space. So 23, if there's one thing that I would hope for and wish to see, it is true collaboration among competitors. So we as Surecomp, we serve banks with back office solutions. Now with RIVO being a platform in the middle, we need to connect to those banks that choose other software vendors for their trade finance back office solutions. Now, if we wouldn't be open to collaboration, we would limit the service and the value that we can bring with RIVO to the corporates and also to the other financial institutions. If we weren't open to collaborate with other trade finance platforms, because we know that the trade finance community will never let one platform grow to be the major or dominating solution. So there will be many platforms in the future. So if we weren't open to collaborate with these other platforms, we would limit the value that we could bring to our financial institutions. And therefore, collaboration with competitors, to me, is the theme for this year. And again, it serves also the TFDI, because the more financial institutions are technically connected, say, for example, with TradeTech, right, which we also partnered with, the more the value for these fintechs that are connected to, say, a few platforms only. But by being connected among the platforms, fintech connected to one platform automatically connected to any financial institution that is on any of the platforms. And that's the value. So 23 for me, collaboration between potential competitors.
That's a very important one, and one I've heard echoed quite a bit in December podcast with Andre Kasterman. That was one of the key things that he'd advised for fintechs and businesses out there to not be silos. You have to be able to work with others. You have to be able to look at someone beyond competition and see how you can add value. And it's a very important lesson for how we push forward today. And I think, with COVID, a lot of businesses kind of learned that, you cannot work in a silo. An institution, you may have a product, but, you may not be the best person providing this product internally. You have to look outside to see who else you can integrate with, who would have a better solution, a more cost-effective solution, and another one that might actually connect you to even more businesses and clients. So a very
Absolutely.
important one.
I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more to that one. Say, take the TradeTech just once more, right? Yes,
Mm.
corporates and financial institutions on RIVO alone can also do that. But then TradeTech has a far more sophisticated solution, right? They pioneered elements of transferring tokens. So why not be open for that one? Again, it serves the purpose, right? And therefore, that's our core belief that collaboration is beneficial for every single party in the chain.
No, absolutely agree. All right. Before I let you go, I have one more question for you. And this one is more of a prediction for 2023 about how you think corporates and FIs can embrace business solutions that are geared towards technology this year. What do you see happening? What do you think will happen based off your experience from last year, other years, and looking forward to what will happen in 2023?
Yeah, that's if I had my crystal ball, right? No, so
I
based
always
on the
hear about the crystal ball.
yeah, well, you asked for it, right? No, based on the experience that I have and the feedback that we're getting, is it needs to be use case driven. So we've all passed the stage where you get attention for a POC, long past. So you need to be able to provide value fast based on a very specific use case. That's when you get the attention of internal teams, because we see a scarcity of resources, not financially, but headcount. So experts that could do the job, that could do a project. You do get the attention if you have a very clear use case, if you can prove value fast to your customer and to their network. So corporates will drive FI adoption. And within the corporates, again, a use case may be small, but it needs to be impactful. And this is what we see continuing already in that very young year 23, because the discussions that we're having with the corporates is all around use cases. Can you help me with that specific problem? Yes, we can. Here's the choice of technology. Let's go. We can, and going back to the investor case, we can get you going in 12 years. It's not a multi-year implementation project that you need to run, but you will get value fast. And this is what we are already seeing this year, because these discussions always take a bit of a while. And we will be pushing that. And as we always say, right, do good and good things will follow. Once we can show and prove that value can be had distributed to the parties fast, the parties are then open to expand, use more services, expand the reach, invite further counterparties. And so the adoption will grow by, again, proving value fast. That to me is my prediction of the adoption of corporates and fintechs to technology in the trade finance space in 23.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. Value, value, value. That's it.
It's
Everyone needs to find a way to plug in and create value to their clients. Listen out and pay attention to what everyone's asking for. And I think you've kind of nailed it here. So Enno, I mean, thank you so much for being a guest on our show today. It's been such a pleasure having you on as our first guest from 2023.
Thank you, Lewis.
All right. And also a very big thank you to all our listeners and all our YouTube viewers out there watching as a podcast, and for all the love and support over the years on the TFDI podcast. You can join the conversation on our YouTube page and subscribe on all our channels to stay in the loop of things. This has been episode 22. Best wishes for a cracking 2023. My name is Doris Klimovich. Till next time.